Laba diena, gerbiami žiniasklaidos.
Good afternoon, representatives of the media. First of all, it is my pleasure to announce the presence of the Vice President of the Commission, Madam Viviane Reding. Together with her, I will try to answer all of your questions. Thank you for being so many here today. I would like to note that I'm happy about the results of today's meeting. We will continue with our discussions, however. As regards the future of the EU justice area and the reform of personal data protection, we had fruitful discussions on both the subjects. This will allow us to adopt decisions in the future that suit best the interests of the EU citizens. Justice ministers have expressed a strong willingness to search for constructive solutions as regards the issues on the Lithuanian presidency agenda. We are happy about this. We discussed the future of the justice area in the EU after 2014, when the Stockholm programme comes to an end. The ministers said that new strategic guidelines defining the priorities in the area of freedom, security and justice are indeed necessary. In the opinion of the majority of the EU justice ministers, such an area of justice, security and freedom and the strategic guidelines should follow these main principles. Strategic EU goals and embedding those in the justice area, close cooperation among respective EU institutions and proper financing for the measures planned. The participants of the meeting have said that the main priorities post-2014 should be the following: implementation of existing legislation in the member states, protection of the fundamental rights, data protection included, more effective judicial cooperation among member states, and also broader use of information technologies in the justice area. Everybody agreed that the EU, while developing, needs measures that could help it meet modern challenges and at the same time provide for a stable and suitable legal environment, which in its turn would promote economic growth and would allow for predictability both for the economy and society. Today, we have also been discussing the issue of data protection reform in the EU, concern that colleagues have expressed regarding the United States surveillance program that the US is possibly implementing and which possibly has an impact on the privacy of the EU citizens is, of course, understandable, the concern that is, and we need to search for solutions to the situation. The majority of colleagues have said that we need to step up the consistency in the rules regarding data protection in the EU. Colleagues also believe that the European Data Protection Board should play a stronger role in this. We need certain limitations as to the activities to the board so that the goals are easy to implement and are practicable. We need to discuss further the scope of the mechanism of consistency, and we need to talk about the one-stop shop further. This is a priority issue on the agenda of the Lithuanian presidency. I have in mind the reform of data protection. We will continue active discussions at the level of experts, and we will return to these key issues at the formal JHA Council. This is by way of a summary of our today's discussions, and now the floor goes to Madam Reding.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's meeting sent a powerful signal to our European citizens. All three European institutions agree. Europe needs very swiftly a strong EU regulation to protect the personal data of our citizens. And I am grateful to the leadership of the presidency, a strong commitment to go ahead with this. And I'm also very grateful to the member states, namely especially of France and Germany, because France and Germany have shown today that the Franco-German motor works. The justice ministers of the two countries signed a joint declaration saying that we need a high level of data protection for European citizens which strikes the right balance between freedom and security. And how serious this is shown by the presence of the two German ministers in the same time, the one of the Interior and the one of Justice. Now that is a sign that really Germany is going for this. And I would like to engage all ministers not to forget this commitment over the summer break, which we have a right to. But after the summer break, we will come out with fresh energy in order to get this done, and everybody counts on your presidency to arrive at a conclusion at the end of your presidency with the European Parliament. And it was very clear also from the president of the Libe Committee that this should and could be done. PRISM, ladies and gentlemen, has been a wake-up call, because the data protection reform is de facto an anti-PRISM action for several reasons. First, for territoriality, to make sure that our rules apply to everybody who is active on the European territory, also to non-European companies. Second, the enforcement. We need tough sanctions. And 2% of the worldwide turnover for those who do not apply the European laws are tough sanctions. And third, we need legal clarity for data transfers. So, in this context, we also do have the Safe Harbor Agreement, which enables data to be transferred from the EU to the US, and PRISM has shown that such transfers can mean personal data of EU citizens being handed over to the United States without any recourse in front of courts. And I have therefore informed the ministers today that I'm working on a solid assessment of the Safe Harbor Agreement, and that I will present this assessment before the end of the year. We do have the impression that the Safe Harbor Agreement might not be so safe after all. It could be a loophole for data transfers because it allows such transfers at a lower standard than the European standard. So the Commission will have a very close look at that in the light of the latest happenings. And this is, by the way, also what the European Parliament and the European industry has repeatedly asked from us. So we have started to work on this. We are going to accelerate the work on this in order, together with the work done by the expert committee, which is negotiating and analyzing the PRISM question with the American counterparts, will come together and we will come to conclusions.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Minister. Time for questions. Please identify yourself and please state who you are addressing your question to. France Press.
Thank you. A question for Baltic News Service and Agence France Press. Question for Madam Commissioner. When do you think those rules, new data protection rules, could come into force to address PRISM program? And I also have the second question. At this moment, do you have now the answer to the citizens if the reports on both the scale of PRISM and of alleged spying in EU institutions that was reported in media are really true? Thank you.
Concerning your second question, you know that with the beginning of the trade agreement negotiations on the 8th of July, there were also the first meetings of the Sherpas on the level of security and data protection meeting, the first real meeting with the top-level experts from the United States and Europe will start on Monday. So we will need also the input from this exchange in order to see in autumn how this will influence or has influenced the safe harbor agreement and the way companies are operating according to safe harbor. So this will be very important as an input in itself, together with the analysis which the Commission has already started some months ago on the way safe harbor functions. Now, concerning the new legislation, it has become very clear today that the two lawmakers, the Council on one hand and the European Parliament on the other hand, want to conclude their work and negotiate already during the presidency in the next 6 months. So that will be of utmost importance. It's the first time that really, as well from the Parliament point of view, as well from the Council point of view, there has been a strong engagement. Yes, we want to come together. Yes, we want to bring these two legislations, because there is a regulation and there is a directive, and the Parliament insisted once more on the package approach, and this finds also the agreement of the Lithuanian presidency. So things should go very swiftly as from now on.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Aš taip pat norėčiau atsakyti.
I would like to answer your first question as well. We discussed the issue today, and our discussions on the directive and the regulation is not really related to this. The draft regulation has been discussed for some time already. The discussions started before the issue which you mentioned emerged, but Lithuanians say that all bad things turn out for the better eventually. I believe it's true. Speaking today on this topical issue, many ministers said that we need to speed up the discussions and the adoption of the regulation, and we do hope that we'll see some more progress in our negotiations on this priority of the presidency. Thank you.
Television. A little more general question to the presidency and to the commissioner. What does it feel like to find a compromise between 28 member states?
Well, I start then with this because I have a long experience on doing this. Well, with 27 I have a long experience. Now it's 28 that is new, but this is the only thing which is new. It is long, because everything has to be clarified and discussed through in detail. And that is why it is so important that the Irish presidency has done an extraordinary work before, so that the discussion in detail has gone through. 4 chapters on the regulation have been analyzed. The directive has made the first reading, has gone through the first reading already. So a lot of preparatory work has gone ahead. The ministers always said nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. And that might be one of the reasons why I always see in the press that in June things have been rejected. No, that is not true. But there was not a vote because the ministers would like to have one final vote on everything. But the 4 chapters have gone through. And now the presidency starts with the remaining items, and everything could be concluded if what the the heads of delegations, the ministers say today, yes, we need to accelerate. That means it could be done in an agreement, a majority agreement, of course, because we are in a subject where we only need majority, we do not need unanimity, so it is doable. And we have heard from the presidency that they want to do it, and we have heard from the European Parliament that they are also going for it, so it should be possible.
Žinoma, aš turiu mažesnę patirtį.
Of course, my experience is more limited than that of the Vice President in looking for compromises. I would like to note that the Justice Council is a very complicated structure, and different member states have different legal structures. So when it comes to the discussions on different regulations and directives, we need to find such agreement that would allow us to adapt our national systems as well. This requires a lot of detailed work. But when it comes to the most important issues, we are able to deal with them rather quickly. And I think that there are lots of priorities on our presidency agenda on which we will be able to achieve a lot of progress or even complete the work. For example, I have in mind the negotiations with the European Parliament. We should also not forget the huge work that is done at our expert groups by our experts.
Any more questions? Can you wait for the microphone?
Elitas.lt, Vytautas Valentinavičius, whether US is willing to work in cooperation with EU on surveillance issue.
Surveillance issues are issues of national competence. That's why I give the floor to the presidency.
Tai aš taip pat atsakydamas norėčiau pasakyti, kad
In reply to this question, I can say that on the one hand, we have issues that fall within the competence of the Council. These issues are closely related to data protection issues. As you know, we have set up an expert working group which will start its meetings on Monday and Tuesday, and this group will be chaired together with the Commission, and it will be dealing with data protection related issues. However, when it comes to intelligence issues and national security issues, this is not the competence of the Council, and I cannot disclose any information on this because these are national issues.
Very much. Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Minister. Thank you all.